Hey, friends, thanks so much for joining me for another episode of the podcast. I'm Pam Durkin. I'm the closing coach for interior designers. And you're like, hey, why the closing coach, right? Because I help you take those opportunities over the finish line. Every call that you get is precious in your business, and we need to make the most of that and then close the right ones. A lot of times you get pushback on fees or pricing, and when a client presses or asks a question, you kind of get flustered and you just don't know how to respond. I help you say the right things at the right time so clients understand. I know sales is not your strong suit. You are a designer and a creative, and I totally get that. And I give you the language, tell you exactly what to say in order for those clients to sign on the dotted line. I had a designer who was going to walk away from an opportunity because the client wanted to cut her fee in half. And of course, we would all be very upset if a client wanted to cut our fees in half, right? But we took a breath and talked through the situation, and she was actually able to save this opportunity because I gave her the steps and the language to educate the client on why she was charging the fee she was charging. And they finally, got it. They understood and approved her $24,000 design fee, which was her original proposal. So this is why I'm called the closing coach. This is how I can help you take projects over the finish line and close them so that you can get better projects in your business. I want to remind you about the Luxury Client Academy, which is my 9-month coaching experience, which is where I help you triple your profits in the next 9 months with measurable results. We track your project progress through the entire program. So today I want to talk about the application process for the Academy. I know you've heard me talk about it, and I thought I would go over the type of questions you'll see on the application because I think some of you are a little bit intimidated as to why I'm asking people to apply and what's all involved. And really, it is really so that I can get to know you and your business better. The application is not there for you to feel bad that things aren't happening in your business. I just need to see where you're at. What are you dealing with? What's going on? I can't help you if I don't know what's happening in your business. And I also want to let you know this information would not be shared with the group. And while the program starts off one-on-one, in the first few months, we spend a lot of time, you and I together, just talking through what's going on in your business, finding out what your struggles are, just understanding where your head's at, all of that. We do then transition to a small group setting, but I emphasis on small group. There is a reason for that. But the details of your application will not be shared with the group. This is confidential between you and me, and I understand totally that I'm asking for sensitive and information and you're being vulnerable here. So this is not something that would be shared with the group. Now, the benefits of the small group is that you have a supportive network to lean on, that you're surrounded by others who are looking to level up as well. You know that saying where you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with? Why not hang out with multiple people who are looking to better themselves, right? And there's just a different kind of energy when you're in a group that wants to see you succeed and wants to succeed themselves. There's literally no jealousy. It's just genuine encouragement. And that it cannot be replicated except in a group setting of like-minded individuals. So that is why we transition to a very small and intimate group. So let's go over what's in the application, what you can expect. Honestly, it should only take you about 5 minutes or so to complete, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. So it's not anything lengthy or long. You've heard me talk about having people, even in your own business, fill out multiple forms. I'm not going to make you do too much, but just enough so that I can find out what I need to know. So here are the questions that you're going to see on the application for the Luxury Client Academy. A little bit of information about you, your name, your phone number, that kind of thing. Super, super easy. First question is going to be, what do you love about what you do? I would love to hear what has made you, kind of turn to this wonderful creative business. What is it that you love about being a designer and being in your interior design business? I want to hear about that because that really helps me get a little bit more understanding about you and also just understanding what motivates you and what you love about what you do so that we can be crafting the types of projects that you're going after as well. Then the next question is, what are you struggling with? And I'm asking you, of course, to be as specific as possible. 1 or 2 word answers don't really give me a lot of information, but what are you struggling with? Yes, I'm assuming it's getting clients or getting luxury clients, but what about it? Is it maybe you're an introvert and you just don't like to walk into a big room with a bunch of people where you then have to try to find someone to talk to? Or maybe it's that you're not good at sending emails or knowing what the right thing to say is. What is it specifically that you're struggling with when it comes to getting better clients in your business? So if you can be as specific as possible, this of course helps me just understand you and where you're at just a whole lot better. Why did you become a designer is the next question. What was the transition? If this is a second career for you, this is where I'd love for you to tell me a little bit about that. So many of you, it's incredible. This is a second career, and I applaud you guys because you are really um, just so brave to kind of switch careers and do these things. So it's incredible, and I admire so many of you. But also, so many of you, when this is a second career, have been incredibly successful in your first career, but you don't lean on any of those skills or any of the talents that you had in your first career and apply it to your design business. And I always love to hear about what you've done in the past and why you became a designer, what that motivating factor was, because it also helps me. Again, there's so much of zone of genius out there that you are not pressing on in your own business. And I see it over and over again, especially when we do the business audits. That's one of the first things we do when you join the academy is that I go to your website and I look at what you're posting, and it's so generic that no wonder clients don't know who to talk to or who to hire, or they're interviewing 10 designers because no one's actually talking to pain points and or bringing up sort of this zone of genius that I know you have. You're just not talking about it. So when I ask, why did you become a designer? If this was a second career for you, I'd like to hear what that first career was and what made you make the leap to do to be in your own business, to be in this creative business, to become an interior designer. Then I want to know about your website, your social media handles. I'm not looking at your followers, and I'm not looking at, I'm not judging your website or whatever. That's not the reason for this. It's simply to see what kind of content you're putting out there, how you're representing yourself, how you're talking about your business. I'm just looking to see what the language is that you're using. So that's what helps me find out, again, a little bit more about you and your business. Someone actually sent me a link to an article that they were recently quoted in, which was awesome. Also gave me a lot of, just insight into what's important to them and what they love to do in their business and the types of things that they like to work on. So that's why we ask for your website and social media handles. I also ask for your total sales this year to date. And I know that talking about your money and your income can be uncomfortable, especially when it's not where you would like it to be. But this is a multiple choice question. So this isn't where you're, putting everything down to the penny, but I want to know where you're at. And that's really, really important to me because, again, I'm telling you that I'm going to get you to a point where I can help you triple your profits. I need to know where you're at. I need to know what at least your gross sales are at. And then once we start working together, of course, I'm going to be asking more details about your profitability because we need to be tracking that as well. So I will ask you what your total sales are this year to date. But again, it's a multiple choice. So there's ranges. So it should be pretty easy for you to answer. And then the aspirational one is, where do you want your sales to be at? Where do you want to go with this business, at least in that short term? I always do this even with my design clients. I want them to show me exactly what they want. We want to go for the big, the big picture, the big idea, the big dream. And then if we have to make some adjustments, and this is for design clients, if we have to make some adjustments because maybe what we're looking to do is out of their budget, at least we know what the dream looked like, right? So that is why I'm asking you, where do you want your total sales to be at? Just tells me how big of a business you want, how much farther you have to go to get to this next level that you're looking for, or where this maybe goal is going to be. Um, I know sometimes the where you're at and where you want to go is a fairly large gap, and that's okay. It's not that you can't get there. It just may take a little bit longer than 9 months. And again, I'm going to tell you that as well. So, anything's possible. We just have to understand where you're at and where you want to go. And then it also kind of helps us get the roadmap to craft what the steps are to get you there. One other question that I'm going to ask you is, have you ever worked with a coach before? A lot of you actually have. And I think this is really great information to know. And then I ask, for a little more detail. What went well? What didn't go well? Tell me what you liked. I'm not asking you to name names necessarily. If you want to, that's fine. Again, your application's confidential. But I just want to know what you did, what you've done in the past, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it. It just helps me understand, again, maybe like the type of learning style you have, or it tells me what you were missing from that last program, what you need now. It just really, really gives me a lot of information. So, have you ever worked with a coach before? And then what went well, what didn't go well? Is an additional dial down to that question. And then what did you like about the process or not like? Again, it could be maybe the way the meetings were structured. It could be that there was a ton of people in the meetings and you felt too intimidated to talk about what was going on in your business. It could be that, everything was online and there was no real one-on-one communication. Just whatever it is that you found that you enjoyed or that you didn't like, all that. Great for me to know and understand, again, for where you're at and what you're looking for. And then the final question is, we're almost done with the application. So easy. What hesitations do you have about enrolling in the Luxury Client Academy? I want to hear what you're worried about. Please expand on whatever your questions are. I have gotten some really, really interesting thoughts from people, and of course, there is no wrong answer here. Like, what is the hesitation? What are you concerned about? Let me address the issue. Let me address the elephant in the room. And then we can go from there and decide if this is a good fit for you. Why not tell me what you're worried about, right? And then I can address it. And then you can decide if that's going to work for you or not. I mean, this is exactly what we do when I talk to clients in my interior design business. We want to know what's going on. Can't address what the problems are if we don't know what's going on and we just make assumptions as to what's going on. So all of these, questions are very specific to help me help you make that decision on whether or not to move forward with the program, whether or not the program's a right fit for you, whether or not I can get you triple your profits in the next 9 months. So much is wrapped up into, a very simple application process. So as you can see, the application is not really intimidating at all. It's just a way for us to get to know each other, for me to learn about you and your business. So, of course, now I'm going to invite you to apply to the Luxury Client Academy. The link to the application's in the show notes. You now know what to expect. It's a very short, simple application. And if your interest is piqued and you want to do a little more research on the Luxury Client Academy, learn about the details of the program, I've got a couple podcast episodes about it. You can listen to episode 67, which goes over all the pricing and all the information about the academy. And then I do a deep dive in episodes 70 to 72, where I talk about what happens in the first 3 months, what happens in the first 6 months, what happens in the first 9 months. So that's episodes 70, 72. And then, of course, you want to be listening to the Naples Experience episode, which is 66. This is one of the awesome bonuses to joining the Luxury Client Academy is you get a free ticket to the Naples Experience, which happens here in Naples, Florida, where we get to tour multi-million-dollar homes. You get to see all the incredible design that's happening here in Naples. I mean, it is unbelievable. You will totally be blown away. Blown away. It's just such a fun experience. Also, we get to celebrate and see each other in person. It's an uplifting and awesome experience. So if you want to learn about that, that's episode 66. And of course, you and I work together to create a lot of clarity and a plan around the types of luxury clients and projects that you want in your business, because I want to help you triple your profits in the next 9 months. So go ahead and make sure that you fill out that application now that you know that it's very easy to do. And if you're not on my email list, if you're just listening to my podcast, you're not on my email list, you absolutely need to be. I'm going to be giving away a free mini business audit this month, and it's only available to those who are on my email list. So be sure to check the show notes, the application. If you have any questions, if you want to join the mailing list, or find me on Instagram, all that information is in the show notes. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.